Previously on Doc Bolus Half-Assed Tutorials. Last time I showed you how to set up a clip or patch for creating generative music in a kind of an AI style. So now all that hard work has been done and we've given ourselves the basic tools, the fun can really begin. And here we're going to start looking at probabilities and the second, more musical step in creating our MC-101 AI generative music prompt. We are going to end up with a melodic line which follows a very similar flowing melodic groove that keeps changing in a generative fashion. Before we go any further, we need to load up the clip that we created last time. There are two ways you can load a clip onto the MC-101, but the most important thing for us is that you can only load a drum clip onto a drum track. So we need a drum track to load our clip onto. Today we are starting from scratch, so I am going to load up our saved clip or patch onto a new clip on the MC-101. Click on a new clip so it starts flashing white. Then click on the value dial and rotate it until you find load clip. Select that and at the next menu choose clip file and navigate to the clip that you saved earlier, which in our case is right here. Now you could play back the original melody that we wrote by simply playing the 8 pads in order, one after the other. And this is how tempo changes were achieved in the early days of sampling, changing the timing of a loop without changing the pitch. However, that is just a bit dull, and I promised you a shonky, half-assed, fake AI, old school type of approach to generative melody creation. Just to make things easy, we can use that first pad on the first step to generate the melody from there. And you can do that either using step sequencing or by playing it by hand. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do it using step sequencing, because for me, I think it's much easier to explain how things are working. So what we need to do now is go through all of the 8 pads and assign them to various steps on the sequence until you've got some kind of melody line that you're happy with. Remember last time we spoke about mute groups and their preferences, and I strongly suggest that if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it now, wherever it is, and come back when you've done that. Although to be honest, let's face it, if you're half-assed like me, you're not going to be bothered. So we'll do a very quick refresher now. If we go back to our layered numbers from 1 to 8, we can hear that all we hear when they're all stacked up is number 8 repeating over and over and over again.
8, 8, 8.
Now, if we go back to each of those pads and adjust the probability on the step in the sequence, we can hear that sometimes those numbers drop out.
8, 7, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 6, 2, 8, 8, 1, 8, 7, 5, 6, 6, 8, 1, 6.
And as you
8.
adjust the probability on more of the numbers, eventually you end up with a random string of digits ranging from 1 to 8. This occurs because the higher placed sounds will prevent all of the other sounds beneath them being heard if it's triggered, even if they are triggered at the same time. So if you are to hear the number 4 come out, that means that pads 5, 6, 7 and 8 must have failed to trigger. And if you hear pad 6 come, then that means that 7 and 8 must have failed to trigger. And if you get to pad 1, that means that all of the other pads have failed to trigger. This is useful when it comes to creating our melodic line. Not only will the probability of a pad triggering give us pauses and breaks and let sections of the melody overrun, we can stack up component parts of the melody on the same pad, and then when the probabilities are triggered, sometimes it will play one sound, say sample 3, and sometimes it will play sample 1. In this case, we can have our rooted first sample at the beginning as the kind of backup default giving us the key, but that doesn't mean that every bar is going to start with exactly the same note. In theory, you could stack up all 8 pads on every single step and have the probability that any one of the 8 melody component parts will play. I think that might end up being a little bit much, and I think you might have to tweak the probabilities quite a lot on that. But it's a possibility, and it might be something you'd like to explore. Let me know in the comments. So there you have it, a melody generated automatically by the MC-101 according to parameters that you have given it in laying out your patch and laying out the probabilities on the sequence and the selection of the mute group order of those samples. It's a kind of a prompt written in MC-101 language. Even though it may be a groove box of very little intelligence, isn't it doing exactly what we want AI to do, which is to generate content for us, even if it ain't that bright? If any of you out there actually use this, please let me know, and I'd be interested to hear what sounds you've got. There's more you can explore with this, and I might get round to it at a later date, but my content is a bit sporadic at the moment. Anyway, if you have enjoyed, don't forget to press like, subscribe, make sure you turn on the notification because things are so sporadic, and in the words of the Serious Cybernetics Corporation, share and enjoy.